Tonight, we are going to be talking about the awakening process. That was upon request. For anybody who is new to the show, it has been covered once before, but quite a while ago, and I don't know what just now. Apparently, my notifications did not get shut off after all on my phone. So it was chosen to start recovering old topics that had been previously covered due to the old archives of the show getting lost. So that's what we're starting to do. And if during the show anyone sees me looking off to, there we go, that's why the ringtone's on, to the side, I monitor the chat in the Facebook group, Willows Bend. That's where everybody ends up showing up to watch it, except for the few YouTubers and such. But any comments you make will show up in there as well. So if you see me looking up, that's why. So I will wait for everybody to come on in, get settled, and then we shall get started. Let me see, do we have W? There it is. There I am. I need my glasses. Being able to see is always good. All righty. Hopefully this time during our Soma Fusion New Year's Eve celebration, I continuously kicked myself out of the chat by trying to hit the button to type in on my phone. But we'll see. I've got a couple people, but no one said hi yet. We'll see what we got. So hopefully everyone's New Year's Eve was lovely. And if you happen to have spent it with Soma Fusion with us, thank you. Hi, Deb and Sandy. How are you, my lovely ladies? It was a busy night, I will say, making the rounds everywhere. I usually don't have that much going on New Year's Eve. I don't know, just don't tend to, but this one we did. So hope everyone else's was good, and thank you to those who spent New Year's Eve with us. So yeah, tonight we are going to be recovering. Let's see, when did I date it? Probably not, knowing me. My old notes, I never used to date them. Oh, I did. Okay, so it was last covered June 1st of 2020. So it's been a couple of years since we covered this stuff, but it is, like I said, pertinent still for a lot of people, and a lot of people weren't in a group necessarily back then. Hi, Tanya. How are you, beautiful? So it'll be a good refresher for those who have heard it before, and educational for those who haven't, I suppose we'd say. So how you guys doing? I know I'm not fond over the new drop in temperatures we had back down towards regular, normal wintry temperatures here in upstate New York. Yeah, I'm not thrilled by that. I was getting kind of liking that 50-degree weather there in the middle of winter. Hey, Nancy. And I think the highs were in the low 30s here today, but definitely, 20 to 30 degree drop was kind of like, brr. Got a draft coming in now at me. It's making me cold. So anyway, it's winter. We expect it here. And it looked like it was going to be a mess through the whole upper half of the country, basically, this week. So, yuck. That was your birthday. What, New Year's Eve was your birthday, Tanya? There's somebody else I know who was too. I still got to do the January birthday post. Thank you for reminding me inadvertently. It was 8 on your way to work this morning. Holy cow. Yeah, freezing. And I feel so bad because so my town has a super high population of feral cats. For being a small town, like, it just astounds me that they don't do more about them. And June 1st on your birthday. Oh, gotcha. Oh, okay. I thought you were saying today's date. It's like, your birthday's in January? I was thinking, no, it's not. So a group of them have found their way to my front porch, and my neighbor and I have kind of been tag teaming feeding them. There are 3 tiger siblings, and then next door there's another group of feral cats. They're beautiful. I wish that, they were a little more social. I probably would nab one of them anyway. They're orange tabbies, but I've not seen orange cats marked this way before. You know how, was it not, is it ocelots that I'm thinking of, or absinians? I can't remember the name of that breed. Instead of having the stripe markings, they're more like oval shaped markings that are separated in equal spacings over their coats. They're beautiful. But they are very skittish, and the poor things are so thin. So I've been really worried about them in the cold, but my neighbor has devised a whole housing unit out there for them. Hi, Miss Mindy. How are you, beautiful? One of them is bold enough that the male who of the regular tiger cats, he has actually ventured in here as far as my room, saw a little girl turn around and bolted back out again, but maybe it's a start. So and that's what I'm hoping for, Nancy. I always spend a couple of minutes, leaning out the window and when I put the food out, to talk to them and pet them, and if they let me. And so they at least associate me. Hey, that's the food lady. Anyway, so thankfully, the last time I stocked up on little girl's food, I got like a whole bin full. So otherwise, I couldn't do it. Hey, Mary, because now we're feeding what? 3, 4, 5. Oh, there's also a smaller, younger tiger, which I'm almost wondering if because the ones that of the 3 siblings, they are kind of the teenage age, not fully grown yet, but they still could be of breeding age. It's little, maybe 3 months old at most. So it's 4, 5, 6. Yeah, good 6 of them out there now. I feel terrible. And then I guess the dog catcher just doesn't do anything. We have a really good no kill shelter about half an hour from here. Hi, Kim. When Jake had his little adventure of taking off on me, he had got taken there the next morning by the dog catcher. I'm sorry you're not feeling well, Sandy, but so if you don't feel obligated to be here, you know that. Hey, Karen. It's there's, like I was saying, Karen, before you came in, there's a real high number of feral cats in this for a small town. There's a lot. I knew there was a group of them like next door under on the other side of the garage is where they tend to live. But now they're finding their way on my front porch. So I offered to even string my heating pad out there to put inside their little house he made for them, for shelter to help keep them warm on the super cold nights. But then it kind of warmed up, but now it's going back down again. I think that they'll be okay though. So, okay, Mary. Yeah, anyway, we have minions. Oh, I mean, I'm happy you're here, Sandy. By all means, I'm not going to kick you out, obviously. But, if you don't feel well, it's okay. I don't get offended. You know that's more what I should have said. Always happy to have you. You know that. So Miss Kim is getting the topic she really wanted covered as well, the process of one's awakening and kind of all the steps of it to know where you're at and what is expected. So it's always good to have kind of a refresher. Surprised Sandy Griffin's not in yet, which is unusual for her. Welcome back, Mary. So I'll go ahead and do the sage blessing, and I'm sure that she will be along shortly. She never ever misses the show, so Neba. Never totally anyway. All right. So anybody who happens to be new to me out there listening, watching, I always do a sage blessing, circle of protection for everybody who is watching or listening, wherever you may be. So we always do that to start the show. So with the sage, I cast a circle of protection around everyone within the group who is watching and out there in other places in the world. May you be protected from ill will or harm of any kind and safe as well. And I will add that as well, Nancy. And may that protection follow each of you into your private lives outside of the show, as well as those watching the replay. We also have a request for Nancy's puppy. Needs healing light. She gained weight but hasn't eaten today and worried about her. So here's to hoping it is nothing but sending healing energy her way. And maybe she's just having an off day. So there we go, everyone. So I will it, so mo to be. She's somewhere behind me. Yeah, I can't reach her without probably bonking her in the head with the sage bundle. Leave a singe mark of whiskers missing on top of her head. That's not good. Yeah, hopefully, I don't sense that it's anything too serious, Nancy. So I think it's just an off day type thing. I don't know if she's older or not, but I'm not picking up on anything seriously wrong or anything. And heck, we have all those off days too where we don't want to eat. So yeah, I don't get anything like serious about it. So she's almost 10, so not super old, probably like, middle aged, give or take, upper middle age. But I tend to be right when I connect. I mean, I'm not a vet, of course, nor am I a doctor, but I sense that stuff pretty well. So all these fuzzies, I don't know what got washed with this hoodie, but it didn't come all the way off. I got fuzzies everywhere on me of different colored threads and stuff. Very welcome, of course. Your dog's about 8 or 10. Yeah. So I guess there's Miss Sandy. I was just saying that I'm surprised you weren't here yet, that I knew you would be. And here you are, because you never miss a single show. So why don't we go ahead and get started then, and we will rock this puppy to the ground. So this was way back from episode 83, from back in June 1st of 2020. So it's been a couple years. And there was a lot of discussion back then of people being stuck in their awakening process, not really understanding what comes next or how to get out of being stuck. So I think, or if I'm remembering correctly, there was a lot of discussion around the topic and you guys got a lot out of it. So I'm hoping it'll achieve that as well for anybody who, especially those who missed it the first time around. She's a pit bull. They don't live as long as small dogs. No, the bigger the dog is, they don't tend to, go like the 20-year range, or like some of them can. So, but which is weird because the smaller dogs are so darn hyper, and they make up for the size by their energy levels and bouncing off the walls and stuff. Yeah, it is a really good topic, and I mean I never thought about it in terms of it being a process or having steps. And I think I'd made a post once within the old group that was kind of like, numbered the different steps. And a lot of people were just kind of saying like, I think I'm between this and this, but like, I don't know what to expect or how to get out of this. I just feel like I've been in a funk and I can't move on and stuff. And so this helped you guys a lot, which is good. Yeah, ankle biters, little yappy dogs. My other next door neighbors, they have a couple Chihuahuas and miniature Doberman pinchers, but they have like no training when it comes to seeing strangers, and they just go lose their minds. I've been here for 3 years. They've seen me in and out 100 times, and they still go ballistic, but they don't do anything to teach them not to. That would drive me. Jake used to look at him like, "What's your issue, dude?" And just walk in. He wouldn't react, thankfully, but yeah, he could have flossed his teeth with them. He grew out of that phase. Yeah, a lot of people though get stuck though. Oh, being an ankle biter. I just saw the comments are connected. Gotcha. Yes, Sereni's a pit. She's beautiful, Kim. Okay. So the process of the awakening, what is it? Hi, Marianne. You're just in time. We're just getting started. So what is your awakening? What is it? So it is a shift in consciousness in which thinking and awareness separate. So it's not so much an event, but a process that you go through, and an awareness of, like, oftentimes within the group, I've used the analogy of like being the whatever foundation of beliefs you were raised with, your home life, at your early years, formative years, that it's almost like you grew up inside of a box that has a lid on it. I just got kicked out of the feed. um, and so when you have your awakening, it's almost like throwing the lid off of that box and saying, holy cow, there's a whole lot more out there I didn't know before, never saw. And you start, curiosity gets the best of you. You start peeking over the edge and seeing it's not all just what you were initially taught in your early life, but there's a whole lot more to it, spiritually, energetically, and so forth. Some also refer to it as uh, the being out of the matrix, and a lot of people make that analogy to the movie of the Matrix, which is kind of an accurate view. I mean, it's Hollywood, of course, but it's a pretty accurate view of it. We're not human batteries, of course, but the idea of being in a preformed, fabricated world, so to speak, and that there is other things out there. So awareness is a conscious connection with the universal intelligence, and one makes a conscious choice to be present in the moment rather than indulging in useless thinking. And that's called mindful thinking. Jim Carrey is walking outside the box. He certainly is. And everybody's thinking he lost his mind, but he really is a very spiritual person. I've seen a couple interviews of him behind the scenes, and I was really surprised by how spiritual of a person he is, just listening to him talk. And he's got like the whole knowledge base going on of things we discuss in group all the time. But I guess you just don't really expect it. And I mean, we don't know what most of their beliefs are, but for someone to be that evolved about it. But yes, he is very funny because that's what he does, and he uses humor for everything. But people are like, he's done lost his damn mind. What's the matter with him? Nothing's wrong with him. He's just putting it out there of his speaking his truth about it. So when you live in the now, you're never more stronger than you are in your now present moment of anything. So whenever you are dipping back into your past traumas and you're hauling that energy forward and, recreating it in the now moment, you're not going to advance, and you're going to keep being stuck, and you're going to carry that energy of all the negative emotions and the event that you went through with you into the now moment. It kind of weakens you because it's taking one step forward by being here, but then you're stepping back into your past too much. And so it's about being aware of that process, watching your thoughts as they go through, mindful thinking, paying attention to what the thoughts are, stopping the negative ones and shutting them down and reversing them to make it a more positive thought with intention rather than constantly putting yourself down. I mean, we've all done it and do it and still do it. Even if you are enlightened, you still have moments. And, I catch myself doing it sometimes too. And I have to stop and, well, no, I'm not a dumbass because I dropped something or whatever. Okay, I made a mistake. I'm not going to beat myself up for it all day long and get nothing else done. So, okay, moving on, acknowledging it, recognizing it, but you don't got to tear yourself apart because of it. So, in the early stages of the awakening process, what drives the world no longer drives you. The world, and we've talked about this a lot in book group and stuff too, that everything within the world of all the systems of society and so forth have been created collectively by everyone who has come before us up until now. Of our thoughts and our emotions and our intentions have created that which is around us. And it's starting to shift a bit to where those systems are being called out to say, this isn't good enough anymore. Of course, there's always going to be those who keep their heads in the sand and want to stay in their little insulated bubble of, watching something on the news to become aware of a problem. And, oh, that's terrible what they're dealing with. Honey, you want a beer? And, I'm going to fix some burgers. You want one? Like there's a total separation from that. And when you are having your awakening or have been working through it, there's that knowledge where you don't switch it off. You stay aware of it. And what drives the world with materialistic wealth and being materialistic, equaling success and all of those things, they're not as important as they once were. Hi, Miss Yvonne. How are you, sister? So, and I know I definitely had my moment of that as well, where, for me, that did definitely used to equal success to me of, what was the size of the toys I owned? The fact that I owned my own home, had a nice car, worked a good job, and, kept us going on my own. There was pride in that. And those were symbols of that success to me back then. And now, I'm content with what I have in front of me. And I don't have to have the super nice car and a really nice place and have the things to tell whether I'm successful or not. So you start to recognize that shift. You see the insanity that goes on in the world and civilization, and it can make you feel alienated from the culture around you. A lot of us have been kind of lone wolf types, or black sheeps in our family, black sheep in our culture that we are from, where we just never really fit in anywhere and it never felt completely right. Well, it's because you kind of already had a head start on this process. Even if you didn't know it, you didn't understand it at the time, it kind of already started for you. And that's why you didn't fit into that current system, because there was no resonance with that. It's almost like, here's civilization, here's you, and you're kind of like, yeah, no. And civilization keeps going forward on its path, doing its thing, and you see it all playing out, and you're like, no, that's not for me. I don't agree with that. I'm not joining into it. I'm not participating or adding to it. So I'm going to conduct myself my own way of what feels right to me. So insanity. I have a large list of words. I'm sure you do, Karen. And you'll have to forgive my voice. I've done a lot of talking throughout the weekend, and I'm still kind of riding that borderline laryngitis crap. So you have to bear with me on that. But it doesn't hurt. It's just as annoying. So you no longer are run as much by your ego. Now, no matter who you are and what you do, one never fully can shut off the conscious ego. That is what helps keep you safe in your everyday waking life of having, being that little voice that warns you, no, don't do that because that's too dangerous. That's not safe. And even if it sometimes isn't our best interest, it can keep us kind of held to, in place without being able to move forward. It's about making the subconscious mind more allowed to kind of step forward to tag team things together, and to have the conscious self and your ego recognize that your subconscious is not the monster in the closet. It's not there to take over the world and cause chaos. It's to add to and help grow you on your path. So that's what the two are about. So it's getting the conscious ego to be willing to play nice and share the daily activity list of navigating this life, is kind of saying, okay, well, you know what, you're not such a big bad dude after all, so come on over and it's okay. Rather than seeing it as a threat and shutting down any of it, you learn how to train them to work together. So the rising awareness you have with your consciousness, it hasn't at that point become fully integrated into your life. There's something more out there. You may not have a name for it or a full understanding of it, but there's a bit more than what you were originally taught. And it has you running through with questions, and even, letting your mind wander to kind of think about what other things could be out there, but you really don't have a sense of direction to head into at that point. Inner and outer purpose has not yet merged. I became aware of what my purpose of being here in this life is. I must have been 20 years old. And it became a knowing. I am here to help others. And up until that point, when I was 20, every job I'd ever had involved being in service of humanity in some way, shape, or form, or animals, but it was always working for the greater good of others. And going forward from 20 to 50, over the last 30 years, that has held true in a variety of different roles, but it's always been to help others. For now, this is my path, is to teach other people and help guide you. And if you resonate with what I say, cool. If you don't understand it or don't agree, that's okay too. Some people aren't ready to hear it, but no matter what teacher you seek out, something I've personally noticed, we're all given the same messages. We may word it differently. I try to break it down to everyday language in its simplest form for everybody. Some will do, some don't. And so we're all giving the same messages of it, though, about the shifts and helping people understand it, to navigate it, to not be afraid of it, and so forth. The messages are the same, and that's what counts. And none of us like talk to each other. We just know it. So, what are some of the symptoms and common signs that someone can expect to have while going through their awakening? There are 10 common signs that you kind of become aware of or you figure out on the way. But having it presented this way can help you understand where you are in the process as well. So you kind of, again, are in the now moment of things, and you're no longer like living in a dream world where everything is filtered through your ego and you're focusing just on your past and your future, but you're here in that now moment of time. And again, no one's more stronger than when they're in that now moment. So there is a person who was a pioneer in this field. And he is an Eastern Indian gentleman by the name of Deepak Chopra. He's written several books, and he really was a spiritual leader, especially in his heyday. He's probably, I don't know exactly what he's doing now, but he's got to be older by now, because I remember his name being tossed around back when I was a kid, and my mom always had his books on hand and so forth. So let's run through what the top common signs of it are. I was telling Hubs to relax and just be in the moment earlier today. Yeah, and it's your present, in the Seth Speaks material, he calls it being in your present point of power. That you are never more stronger than right here, right now. In each moment that passes by is our now present point of power. And so the more you're worried about what's to come on your path, or where you've been and what you're still towing behind you in that big red wagon, you're not being here and now. And so you won't be at your top of your game and the strongest you can be. So number one is observing your patterns. One of the first signs is noticing how up till now you have been an observer. You've been witnessing how you do life. So, for example, you could ask, he was talking about later, and I said, let's do later. Exactly. Worry about it when it gets here. And I actually, even on that topic, several years ago, kind of came to the realization that, I'm sitting here stressing out about all these things that I can't do anything about right here and right now. And so that kind of became my philosophy, that if I can't impact change right here and right now on something, I set it aside until such a time comes where I can handle it and focus and change or deal with it. I'll deal with it when it's the time to deal with it. But, when it's a month away, weeks away, whatever, it's not here. So you fussing and stressing and worrying and constantly playing it in your head, it is a monumental waste of your time and energy, for one. But you can't impact change at that point. Set it aside until it gets there where you can, and it's the right time to deal with it. And don't keep going back and picking it up and bringing it back and cycling it like the hamster wheel in your head. Push it back out again and say, no, the time will get here soon enough, and I'll deal with it then. So, so your first one of the first signs you have is noticing that up till now you have been an observer, witnessing how you do your life, basically. So, like, for example, starting to question, say if you're a partier, or, kind of an alcoholic. I was saying, do I really need to drink so much? Or why do I get angry as often as I do? You kind of start becoming aware of your patterns and saying and looking into the why it happens. What are the triggers? What leads you to have these episodes? Or, starting to see that there are patterns here. And how do you interact with your life? Why am I always comparing myself to others? Hi, Sue. Yeah, the family over here just goes with the flow. It's so much easier to be on your back and float downstream where it takes you. Absolutely. And that's actually one of the tenements that Abraham Hicks teaches about with regards to manifestation and positive thinking is rather than fighting against the current constantly, let the current carry you and go with it rather than fighting against it. You're going to get further. And it's a lot easier. And so I think some people's brain is a hamster wheel. It absolutely, I mean, we're all guilty of it, Mary, when we're worrying about something and we're turning it around from, pretend this is a thought, okay, and it's in your head. We're sitting there hyper overthinking about it from every single angle, re-examining it, questioning it over and over, but we're not accomplishing anything. We are simply just looking and overthinking about it, and it leads to bringing aspects into it that don't have a place in that problem because you're like going way out in the left field with it. Hey, Stace, how are you, sis? So it is very much that hamster wheel, chasing your own tail, so to speak, and achieving nothing except using up a bunch of energy that could be better spent on other things in their now moments. And so, like, why are you always comparing yourself to others? Why do other people's opinion of you matter to begin with? Why do you care? Why do you worry about it? Uh-oh, what happened, Stace? Even thinking what to have for dinner tomorrow, we are so mundane. No, we absolutely. And people get stuck in these patterns without being aware that they're in them. And till, once in a blue moon, though, you'll sit back and kind of be like, yeah, I guess I can see where I do that. If I'm sorry, your back hurts. Did you pull something? If someone makes a comment to me of, wow, Donna, you really came across like a bitch to so-and-so earlier today, I step back and I will examine it objectively, where I'm not seeing it through my own lens, but through the lens of how what I said or did could have been interpreted. And then I question myself, did I do that? Am I doing that? Is it possible that maybe I am? And okay, what do I want to do about it? And okay, so a lot of times it's more of, yeah, I guess I can see where that could have been taken that way. And yeah, I probably could have said it better than that or did it differently to handle something. And so you start to like self-examine. Sue said, because of all of us have been programmed to feel what we need verification and vindication. Whoops, back down. That's why other people's opinions matter. The problem is 90% of the time, it only came from one person or two for most, and that does not speak for the rest of the planet. Correct. It absolutely does. And, we are groomed and taught to always worry about what the neighbors are thinking of us. Are you going outside dressed like that? Everyone's going to see you. Are you crazy? Well, you're going to look like that. Like, what's the matter with you? And always worrying about that stuff. Going with the crowd. Don't be the ones that step out of line and, get back in line and march to the beat. And if you don't, well, you're wrong. Yeah, definitely take it easy these days. Hot and cold packs, love. So it's really about witnessing how you do your life. How do you live? How, are there recognizable patterns that maybe need tweaking and getting a hold of? I've had many times like that in my life where I kind of had to step back and say, am I kind of going in the danger zone with this? Well, I need to reel it back in a little bit here and kind of get control of the situation because, yeah, I've been kind of, little too far out in left field for things. So self-examining is a good thing, but not, again, hyper-focusing, beating yourself up about it, just observing from the outside looking in. Asking, like, why do I attract so much page turning? Stuck pages together. I have an old notebook. Why do I attract so much drama? Some people are raised in a state of drama that they truly don't feel like they can function without drama being present. So if it's not happening, they make it because that's what they're comfortable with. Of course. And so it's, again, what are my patterns? How am I living my life? Can I make it a little bit better and tweak things? Just stop giving shit what everybody else thinks about you and worries about you, is going to say about you behind your back. You know, we're all here on our own path, and those people who are doing it who are perhaps worrying about what you're doing, they need to be doing the same thing and mind their own business and focus on their own stuff instead of worrying what everyone else is doing. And they just haven't gotten that lesson, but it doesn't mean you can't get that lesson on your path. So number 2 is feeling a sense of connection. So here, connection comes from shared humanity. It's not just always, it's easy to write everything off as, humans are just pieces of shit and we suck. There's no room for growth in there and change. And yes, as a species, we fight change. We just don't like change, even though change is usually a pretty good thing. We're so afraid of it and get so set in our ways that we see it as scary, when everything, I don't care what it is meant to change. Stop and think of everything in a natural world. Starts out as a seed in the ground, and then through rain and stuff and sun, it starts to grow and change forms, and to where it ends up being something completely different than what it started as. But then it starts the downward flow of its life cycle. Hey, Keith. And then, eventually leading till death, but also rebirth. All of the seasons, they keep coming back around again. There's these cycles of continuation. We are no different than that, and we don't have to be stuck inside that box. And again, some people choose to be, and that's their choice, but we don't worry about that. All we can do is hold our hands out to those who are willing to take it and go for the ride with us, or say, I'm gonna go back down to where that person is and go back to where I used to be. But once you start this process, you can't turn back on it. There is no shutting it off. Once you've seen the other side of things, reversing that going back to a state of blissful ignorance doesn't work. I've not met anyone who's been able to do that. Now, that said, you may stay stuck in one of these 10 places, and not move forward from it, but you can't ever go back to where you were before all that started. Now, Maggie just ate one of my hot dogs. Well, that's a good thing then. It's food. She might have had an upset, gassy stomach before or something, and maybe it moved through. And I feel like what people think of me is none of my business, says Sandy. Absolutely, absolutely correct. Let people worry about themselves. If those who are going to talk about your behind your back are going to do it, whether you're listening or not. And I know I have way better things to do. I could honestly say, out of this entire planet of how many billions of people, that there's only a few whose opinion matters to me. And in the end, I'm still going to make my own choice, and I'm still going to follow what's feels right for me to do. But I may stop and ask them their opinion or get advice, but I'm going to make my own choice in the end. Everybody else can do their own thing. So the connection comes from shared humanity. So for example, taking interest in your community, volunteering, or helping others, getting outside of yourself and your own little boxed in world to recognize, hey, there is more things I could be going out to do. Mary said it's their problem, not ours. Correct. At least they have a good subject. That is true, Nancy. And for me, I don't, on my path, I made it kind of a personal value that there's nothing I will say behind your back that I'm not willing to say behind, like, to your face, or haven't already. Like, I speak my truth on camera, off camera, behind, individual conversations. It don't matter. 9 times out of 10, I've already said it to you or voiced my opinion, whatever. I won't do that to people. So, and I have, you learn along the way to word it so it's not hurtful, but I am the one that would go and say, hey, your tag's hanging off the back of your shirt. But by the same token, hey, you look fabulous today in that color. Either way, you're not going to hurt someone with those things. But I'm the person who will call that stuff out. Welcome back, Karen. So you start, having that shared humanity, taking interest outside of your own box, starting to ask why someone does something different rather than judging them. When you see something that is different from how you do it, rather than shaking and pointing a finger at them and, well, they're probably like this and they do that way. No, stop and think, well, what else would lead them to do those things or to be that way? Um, Back when I was, involved with doing child protective services all the time and hotline calls and so forth, that was one of the first things we got trained to do. That, okay, a report comes in, you have these allegations. Don't go in like gangbusters jumping up in a parent's face like you're a bad parent, you suck, and you're a piece of shit, and your kids are coming with me. No, don't go there. Instead, stop and think, okay, what else could be behind these allegations? Well, a neighbor's miffed at you and are going to just continuously having a problem. You can have a frustrated ex who, is power tripping and just trying to make your day a little worse by messing with you. It can be kids who are being vindictive towards their parents as teenagers. A number of different other things can be behind what is in front of you. Hi, Miss Lori. Sniffing glue makes people act weird. Sniffing a lot of different chemicals makes people act weird. I agree. Yep. So starting to look at what else could be going on for someone rather than just assessing and passing judgment on them. Well, they're weird. They're this and they're that. Instead, step back and say, well, maybe they got things going on in their life I don't know about, but it's not my business either way. So leave it alone and move on. Don't sit and, shake a finger at everybody. I'm glad you made it, Lori. We're not too far into the show. You pissed off your neighbor's sister because they said you made the best chocolate cake. Yeah, like, what is that? So, hey, I'll bake me next time and then we'll try it, have a little contest to see whose is the best, whatever. So there's a heightened awareness also of the beings that you share the planet with. You may find yourself catching and releasing bugs rather than killing them. You start to kind of see that, okay, yeah, that spider in the corner is creepy and I'm afraid of it because it's creepy, but who's to say my life has more value than theirs or is more important, or that I have more of a right to live than they do? So I'm going to end their life. Instead, you work on catching and releasing most of the time, more times than not. Um, because we're not here to harm everything around us. And we are not these supreme beings out there, even on our own planet, we're not. So at that point, be aware of others. Some people are weird and some flaunt it. I want to be the one who flaunts it. Absolutely. And most of you guys who vibe within Willow's Bend are that way. You killed a beetle last week. Even if I am afraid of something that catches me off guard and I accidentally kill it, I apologize to it. Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Like, I really didn't. And I don't know, not that they necessarily understand my language, but they understand my intention. And I send them along their way with the best grace possible. And, but it's never done. We don't intentionally seek to harm anything other just because it is what it is. Exactly, Mary. It's walking your own path, whatever it is. And if it's weird, it's usually just because it's different from society standards. Yeah, I don't like spiders either, but we have an agreement in my house that as long as you're not walking around making egg sacs left and right, so there's 20,000 of you, and your cobwebs aren't getting out of hand. Yeah, if you want to be up in a corner, as long as it's not directly over above me or crawling around beside me, cool. Go on the other side of the room and be over there. That's fine. If I'm able and they won't, I'll catch it. And if it's freezing cold, I won't put them outside. It's just I'll relocate them to the different side of the house. I apologized before for accidentally killing something. Mistook it for a roach. Yeah, and so it's just having that awareness outside of yourself that we are not the supreme all beings just because we're humans or have a right or a hierarchy, so to speak, that, hey, my life has more value than yours. So you seek to, you have a heightened awareness of the beings that you share the planet with, that every being has its own role to play. And there was an indigenous person back around the time of the conquering of the United States by incoming Europeans and such, who his name was Chief Seattle, and he used to go and speak on behalf of his people to Congress. And he gave a famous speech once that talked about, we are all a strand in the web of life. What befalls one strand will soon befall the rest. So when you look at a spider's web, they immediately go and either take down the entire thing to rebuild it, or if it can't be fixed, but knowing that the web is weaker with that one piece missing. Well, it's the same way with everything else on the planet. That what happens to one is going to soon happen to us as humans, and then what? Spiders don't bother me. I used to name them because my ex was terrified of them. Sandy said, for some reason, the other day I was very emotional and I stepped on my kitty's paw and just sat down and cried about it. And definitely, I do that all the time too. I mean, I had accidentally stepped on a little girl's tail the other day and the front of my shoe was on it and I didn't realize it. But, she's yelling. I'm like, what? And then I finally recognized it. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And yeah, it's an awareness outside of yourself. Someone I hate, I put spider on them. Yeah, but they're more likely to kill it that way too, Mary, because they're startled by it. And a few tarantulas for pets. I took Harry to work with me one night. Now, and I don't like tarantulas, but would I automatically kill it just because it's big and hairy and scary and has huge fangs? No. Try to catch it and find another home for it, or someone who does want them, whatever, but I just kill it. Yeah, we've all unintentionally caused harm to other beings, but that is the whole piece of it, is the awareness of other beings on the planet, and that we're not the end all be all. Yes, I do too, Mary. I apologize to insects, even plants. If I have to step on a plant that happens to be growing through the crack in the blacktop of my driveway, and I, to get around it, and there's no other way, well, I'm sorry, I just stepped on you, but I got it. So you have that heightened awareness that human beings do share the planet. We are not, even if you are Christian background, when they're given dominion over the earth, it didn't mean to do with what we want. It meant that we are caregivers of that planet. And so, it gets interpreted as people like, of course, but as all different belief systems take things and run with them. But that's really what it meant. We're caregivers. So you also can become aware of your connection to the planet, where you realize, for example, that throwing away a mentality is no longer accepted, as far as like, hey, you're saying this to me, you're speaking your truth, but I don't have to listen to you. I'm done. I'm out. Well, give people a chance to hear them out and speak their truth. You don't have to agree with it. That's okay. Don't go and turning hateful against somebody because you don't like what they said. Keep scrolling, Tanya says, when Autumn hit the deer last month, I said sorry to her. Yeah, I have arachnophobia big time. Yeah, I mean, a lot of us are afraid of spiders and things like that. And because we don't understand them, they startle us. They're scary looking, but it doesn't mean our lives are more important than theirs. My Rowdy is the fur baby hospital. He's having kidney problems. Oh, I'm sorry, Renee. Well, positive thoughts out to him, and that he makes it okay. And, but even when it's time for an animal to cross back over, they know, they're aware, and they know that it is a cycle. And, they don't hyper focus on it and have this massive fear of death like humans tend to. It's like, oh, okay, so this is what we're doing now. And they go do it, knowing they're going to come back around. Yeah, absolutely, Renee. So you also become aware of your connection to the planet, in terms of your attitudes. You're quick to be, judging other people, but again, stepping back, looking at it objectively, which means outside of the situation, without your emotional baggage in the way and your upbringing and all these other belief systems in a way. Just look at it for what it is and evaluate it from there. And if it doesn't resonate with you, keep walking, keep scrolling, shut it off, change the channel, whatever, but you don't got to stay hyper focused on it. So number 3 is letting go of attachment. Now, these are how you define yourself. So, like by the materialistic things you have. For some people, no matter how many freaking toys they own as an adult, it's never enough. And it's also that there is normally they're trying to fill a void within themselves, yet like psychologically speaking, there's like a hole within them emotionally that they're not addressing, so they get things to try to fill that hole. And of course it never takes care of it, because that's not what the real issue is. But having those things equal status symbols for them, and it's that immediate gratification that makes them feel good. But once they have it, it's no big deal, means nothing, and they move on to the next thing. So it's kind of not having an attachment to those types of things. Enjoy having space more than stuff. Yeah, no, and it's a weeding down of what is truly important versus not. Don't just keep stuff because it's stuff. And those people who hold on to every little thing, or if someone you love crossed over, there's no need to keep every little piece of scrap paper they wrote their shopping list on, or whatever. Focus on what's important, not those mundane little things that really don't have a meaning. I like the bumper sticker, the one with the biggest toy wins. Exactly. And a lot of people do that. And I used to be guilty of it too. Like I said, for me, those things meant that I got out of poverty and I became successful, at least moderately so. And I could boast that hey, I did this and I got here. Through my hard work, I ended up here. And I can prove it. But now, it's not as important to me. So those things, the materialistic things are still there, but it's like you can see through them. You become aware of the veil of beliefs that you had from friends, parent tapes, those little things that your parents fed you growing up that may not have been right for them to say to you, but, or had a negative impact on you, but yet you go forward once you grow up and you end up finding yourself saying it to your own kids. You're like, whoa, what did I just do? Oh, crap. You got to, work through them and get rid of them. I want to give my metal man away. I should have never named him Larry once he came in. And it's okay that you have him. Like, that's fine. It's, just not having those things be what gives you happiness, because they're just stuff. They're not what's truly important in the world. We all have things that have more value to us than other things. They're sentimental value or family history behind them. Okay, sure, there's nothing wrong with having those things, but you're never going to make that hole within you go away, because that's from an emotional place. So physical, tangible items and toys are not going to make it go away. The stuff I want to keep takes a lot of room. If I ever get it, I want a pool table. That takes a lot of room. I have done that before. So people I used to know had this life-size paper mache. I think it was an art project or something, but they did a really cool job of it. It was of a seated elderly man, legs crossed, and he had a pipe. He had a hat on, and the detail was really fascinating and interesting. And then they bring it over to my house, and it's like, well, now it's your time to have Joe. No, I don't. What am I going to do with Joe? Like, I don't need Joe here. I'm better off appreciating when I go to your house. Thanks, I'm good. And I knew a lot of work went into creating him, and I hung on to it for quite a while, because it was for paper mache. It was a work of art. But did I want it taking up space in my house? Not so much. I mean, I used to, for something to do with it, I would leave him sitting at the dining room table just to startle like my daughter's friends when they came over. Who's the creepy old guy in the corner more than anything else. But, I didn't have any attachment to him. So it's becoming aware of that, like the parent tapes, what science tells you. And once you become aware of that veil, it becomes more transparent. Instead of being a heavy blanket separating you from the truth, then you end up seeing it as it is and seeing through it. So Oh, your metal guy would make a perfect scarecrow? Probably would. You'd have to worry about it rusting. So number 4 is finding inner peace. Being attuned with your own self of when you are out of alignment. Now, before I get going on this, we are here having a human experience. With being human has human emotions. It's okay that we feel whatever emotions they are, as long as you're not unpacking and staying in the negative ones. It's normal to get mad. It's normal to feel depressed or anxious at times, but you don't unpack and live there in the middle of it, is the difference. So inner peace is like a magnifier of positive emotions and a wet blanket to the negative ones. So when you are, I mean, no one's going to be happy, happy, joy, joy 24/7, 365 a year. We all have our moments. We have our meltdowns. We have things that upset us, frustrate us, anger us, whatever, hurt us. However, you don't stay in that place. And when you recognize, it's about recognizing it, that, no, okay, I don't like how this feels and I need to change it. You, every single one of you, including me, Katie, you guys in chat, you guys listening out there, wherever, everyone on this planet is in control of their own emotions. We use the phrase, oh, well, you made me mad. No, you let them make you mad. That you let them push your buttons to trigger you, to get upset. It is a conscious choice. Period. There's no other way to it. We own that. We are in control of that. So it's up to you all to recognize and monitor your emotional state and go with more what feels right. And nobody likes being depressed and living in a state of anxiety, panic attacks, depression, all of that. I mean, you can't help mental illness to that degree. Yes, you're going to have to work with it, but again, it's mindful thinking, to be aware when you're not in alignment, based on how does this feel? I don't like who I am when I'm feeling this. I don't like who I am when I'm stuck in that. And it is hard to control it, Nancy. And it's like I said, it's okay to express it, but not to unpack and stay there. That's the difference. That's the key part of it, is that you feel like crying. There's nothing wrong with crying. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't, you will stop. And it's very cleansing to the body. We release chemicals. And, Sandy Griffin has, we often talk about this post that I found once upon a time. That's probably, I think it is in the guide section, where somebody had, done that experiment and freeze dried tears caused by different emotions, and then photograph them under a microscope. And they are made up of different chemical compositions. Your body releases those different chemicals in response to your emotional state. And so it is the thing, it's okay to release it because it's cleansing and it's getting it out from inside of you. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong to get pissed off or being, all emo depressed all the time. Doesn't feel good. We'll recognize it doesn't feel good, and what can I do to change this for myself? Right, hormonal stuff, you can't change your hormonal states, but you can do other things during that time frame if you are feeling impacted by them, to do something that will make you happy instead and bring you joy and help raise your mood. Yes, Ren and Stimpy, happy, happy, joy, joy. Yeah, so hormones do impact things, absolutely. However, they don't have to rule everything. I mean, trust me, I've had the hot flashes and done all that stuff too. But, again, it's recognizing when you're in the throes of being impacted by it and choosing how you're going to react. That matters too. So it doesn't mean that when things go, that they don't go wrong in your life anymore, but it's more like when you do, that you don't get on an emotional roller coaster of the negative emotions, and then you start up with the negative self-talk and downing yourself, and you perpetuate the mood, and our emotions, intentions, and thoughts create. So it brings more on your path when you stay stuck there. And that's why people feel like they can't ever get out of it, or it's never going to be different, because they're not going deep enough within them to make the changes to make it different outwardly. Yeah, absolutely. The hormones are nasty little things, and they impact, we all, male, female, we all have hormones that impact things. or if it's the time of the month for our cycles, if you're not menopausal, you get impacted by those hormones. But it's a difference between recognizing that I'm really tired and I'm bitchy versus I'm going to go out and be homicidal because I have my period. It's a royal biatch when I went through menopause. So glad it's over. Yeah, no, it is a very unpleasant process, but we didn't enter into this world ready to give birth. It took years to get to the childbearing age and be able to do so. Well, it's kind of the same thing. It takes a while to undo that process of creating life and being capable of it. So it's unhappy on either side. What is becoming a teenager like? It's wrought with distress and anxiety and panic and, oh my God, I can't fit in, and what's everybody thinking about me and all that stuff, and having our mood swings. And so we kind of go back into that with menopause. Right. So through our hormonal therapies that can help balance you out. Absolutely. So it's finding that inner peace to not let the negative emotions become a wet blanket that you're going to wear around with you, weighing you down all the time. Keep it more status quo. And doing things, if you are in that state, that's going to get you out of it, not keep it going. If you find yourself having the negative thoughts and downing yourself all the time, simply stop, be aware of the thought, and turn it around into a positive statement. Moving on, beat yourself up over mistakes, stay ahead, focusing on it. And again, overthinking things, recognize that you're doing it, you stop it, and go distract yourself with something else. You choose your mood. You really do. And I had somebody say that to me once because they're able to sense emotional states in me very clearly, and they got this flash of anger. And so when they actually turned their attention to see what was going on, it was gone. And when we talked later, they're like, how did you do that? I said, because I don't like who I become when I'm that angry, so I shut it down. It's not that I'm burying it, it's that I'm releasing it from me, so it's not impacting me any longer. I don't sit and keep grumbling for an hour about it. It takes a lot to get me to that point, and when I do, it doesn't last long because I don't like who I become in that overly angry state. Yeah, everything, everyone's going to be different how they deal with the hormonal stuff, but it's a matter of doing something to deal with it instead of residing in the impact of it. So number 5, So number 5 is raising your intuition or increasing it. Thoughts, emotions, objects, etc. They all have energy, and spiritually awoken people, we seem to be able to connect to that energy on a regular basis because you're aware of it. Those that aren't connected and aware of it, well, then they're oblivious to it and they just go about their business without ever giving it a second thought because they haven't learned it and experienced it to take the time to say, maybe there is something to this. They automatically will shut it down out of fear or whatever, their foundation of beliefs. There's a lot of things that impact that. But, once you are open-minded to see it, you don't unsee it. That which has been seen cannot be unseen. So like people who have deja vu, for example, they're impacted by in a moment of, hey, I've been here before. I know what this is. This is super familiar. You're being aware of it in a moment and trusting it. Yes, trusting it, Kim. You're trusting what you're getting. And if it raises a red flag, don't ignore it. Pay attention to that red flag. It's being raised for a reason. Listen to your intuition and being aware of that every organic living thing has its own energy field, including us. And we interact with all the other energy fields. Path split decisions. Yep. Took nothing. So anything that is made of a natural material, the cardboard that's in front of me that my tablet is sitting on for a stand, that also is made from paper, which is made from trees. So it still has some energy about it because it's an organic material. So I did the black cohosh root. It worked okay, you guys are talking about hot flashes still. So raising your intuition, being aware of it and acknowledging it and looking into it rather than turning a blind eye from it. Because again, once it's been seen, you can't unsee it. And I've done things with everybody within my group as to demonstrate that sensation, even if it is picking up a stone and holding it. How does it make your hand feel? Does your hand start to tingle? Does it feel warm? Does it start creeping up your arm? Do you feel vibrations off it? That's its energy field, and that's its own language that it's communicating with the world with. We have the same energy field. It's different from theirs, but it's still an energy field. So number 6 is synchronicity. We see this all the time, and as spiritual people, we learn to make those associations where the average person, they don't pay attention to it, they don't notice it. But if your clock turns 2:22, oh my God, or 11:11, make a wish. We all have those things that we're aware of when things are in alignment. You can feel it. So like intuition, it's like feeling like the universe is trying to conspire to make something happen and to give us signs of it on our path as it's happening, instead of being a after the fact news flash. It's trying to clue us into something to pay attention to in the moment. A single act can trigger a chain of events that puts you on your path or can take you off. It doesn't have to be, always something hidden or subtle. It can be something big that lands you on your path. But once you're on it, you notice something's different and it feels different. And, lots of times, even if you don't know what it is, you kind of like how it feels. So you're more willing to go with it and follow that path. And it's okay to, if it's normal, everybody does it, to where you're once you're on your path, to take look, that pretty flower over there, or look, there goes a rabbit, and go off your path and go try to find that rabbit or that pretty flower. And then you're like, wait, where'd my path go? You do eventually find your way back to it, and it's like we're drawn back into it when the time is right in our lives. And even on my own journey, I was intensely involved in spiritual growth stuff in my very early 20s, but then Adulting 101 happened. I became a mom, and that was the focus. My education was my focus. Working to support my family was my focus. But once that stuff started kind of settling down and quieting down, and my daughter grew up and, went on to get a life of her own, then I had more time available to come back around and refocus and keep growing from there. It'll wait for you. It's not going anywhere. It's always going to be your path. So, no, squirrel, exactly. So a single, like a single act can trigger a chain of events that kind of ends up putting you in the right direction. Again, it can take you off of it. Numerology can also help with the number signs, but there can be others than just numbers. I had somebody last night who I recently met, and they had come across something about palmistry and noticing some certain lines that they had on their hands, and they had made a comment, but they didn't really know what they were looking at. And so I came into the library in Willows Ben group, pulled everything I had in there about palm reading and what the different lines are, and I gave it to him. I said, here, explore, learn it, and grow it. If you have them or you don't, but it's not something that's written in stone. Absolutely, if you have this is what your life is going to be. Just kind of helping you kind of clue into it. So, yeah, I don't see. There's Chris. Hi, sister. Welcome. Long time no see. So, the number 7 is raising your compassion. Compassion is action inspired by your empathy. Empathy is not pity parties and feeling sorry for somebody else. It is the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes and understanding what they're dealing with. And not, as an empath, which many of us are, that's like the most basic gift that pretty well all humans have to some degree, is being aware of that for somebody else and saying, gosh, I can't imagine how hard that's going to be in that, because you're picturing yourself dealing with that. How would I respond? And not be so quick to judge. Exactly, Karen. Understanding without passing judgment first, and then looking at it, or never coming to the place of understanding and just judging. So, empathy literally means to suffer with it. meaning you're taking it and looking at it yourself rather than just feeling sorry for the person. Oh, that's too bad you're dealing with that. I'm so sorry. And oh, poor you. That doesn't help anybody. And anyone who knows me, I don't do pity parties. I don't allow them for myself, but I also will not encourage it in anyone else either. You're gonna have a moment. Hey, take your moment. That's okay. We all have our moments, but you don't unpack and stay there. So I've had people approach me wanting me to commiserate with them and get to lower my energy field down to theirs and pity party with them. And sorry, but you kind of are going in the wrong direction. I'm not that one who will do that. You don't like your situation, change it. Make it be different. I can't do I don't have, you know what? I don't want to hear that you can't. How about I can? Or maybe, just maybe I can. And see what happens. It can be different. You're not locked into that only way of being in a negative way. Start turning it around and seeing what can I still do. So I don't do pity parties. It is very condescending, yes, and I don't do it with people. Like I said, I don't let myself have a pity party. I'll give myself a brief moment, and then I pull myself up out of it and say, I've been empathic as long as I've been alive, says Lori. I didn't know that there were even a name for it until I was in my 30s. Yeah, like I said, it's the most basic gift that we as humans have and are capable of. Whether you grow it or not is another matter. And being an empath is observing and not absorbing. You're going to observe what happens, but you don't sit and absorb it as your own. You notice it, you pay attention to it enough to acknowledge it, and then you move on. Don't take it on as your own. I can't and don't want to. Pity party. What is what I say to our dog when he goes to potty since he's a pit bull. Exactly. So you raise your empathy, and an important area of having compassion is self-compassion. This is something that we're not taught this skill in life. We are taught by society to tear ourselves down. Don't be different. If you are different, you're wrong. And that's like the only way it's looked at is if you are different, you're wrong. If you're not following the crowd and doing what everyone else is doing, you're the wrong one, not everybody else. Well, the reverse is more often true than not. What everyone else is doing is kind of the wrong thing. And it's okay to be you. Do you. Do what feels right to you. Don't go along with the crowd. So, and the compassion for self compassion, it has three main components to it. So exactly. That's what I'm saying is society is a collection of created stuff, of structures, of layers that's been made up of everybody who came before us up until this now time. And things were different for a lot of people along the way who went into creating that, but it doesn't work anymore. And so it's going to be deconstructed before it gets reconstructed. So, an important area of self compassion has three main components. The first one is self kindness. Treat yourself nice. Like, don't sit and beat yourself up over everything. Don't belittle yourself and name call yourself and drive your ass into the ground. Even if you grew up hearing it from others, doesn't make it right just because you grew up listening to it or being called everything but nice growing up. That diminishes everyone's self esteem at a stage in your life when you don't have the tools to fight back and to say, oh, that, over there, nope, it, and instead you internalize it to where you come out of it feeling like you really are a worthless piece of crap, but you're not. Everybody has value. Everybody is here for a reason, but what are you going to choose to do with that reason? We are in a world made by dead people. Basically, yes, Karen, absolutely. And so, it's about that. Treat yourself nicely. Same again, if you have a negative thought about yourself, calling yourself a name, belittling yourself, mindful thinking, be aware you're doing it. Stop for a second. No, just because you made a mistake, it doesn't mean you're a dumbass or, you're an idiot. I made a mistake. Okay, moving on. And that's it. There's no staying focused on it and keep beating yourself over it. Learn from it instead and move on from it. Number two is a sense of common humanity, which is that we're all humans having a human experience. Everybody is at a different level, everybody is at a different pace, has a different path. Be respectful, be courteous. Doesn't mean you're going to stoop down to mudslinging and belittling of others. It is being compassionate of the world, of other people going through their own stuff. And it's not, again, for us to judge it. So, and again, number three, mindfulness. Be aware of your thought processes, be aware of your emotional states, and seek to keep it higher, raised. Again, no one's going to stay tippy top fifth dimensional consciousness all the time. You're going to dip in and out, but and that's normal. But don't unpack and stay at the lower level. No, absolutely, Karen. And the world was a different place back then. And back then, more people wanted to trust those systems that were in place. And now we're seeing that they're more self-serving and helping those people who are in those places and not us as a group of people. So Chris messaged me, but I can't answer while I'm on the air because it's not showing up on my phone. So it's on my tablet. So those are the three parts, the main components of having self-compassion. Number 8 is removing the fear of death. So many people are so scared to die and hyper focus on it and worrying about it and doing anything and everything they can to avoid it. And I'm not saying go out all kamikaze style, living a high risk lifestyle, seeking it per se, but it's not anything to be afraid of either. Every living thing has its time where, the physical self gives out and we go back to energetic form on the other side, and we have all the answers we wanted all along. They're there. Past loved ones, they're there. Past animal loved ones, they're there. And we can choose from there when we're going to come back in to keep learning. That's not such a bad thing. Exactly, Sandy. Don't live in it. So all fear generally lessens as you move into and through your awakening. We tend to lose more of the fear of death because we come to understand it better as a process, that it's a normal, natural thing. And yeah, we may miss the physical form of the person in our lives, of being there, knowing you can call them up whenever you want to or get advice or how they made us feel by when we're around them. However, it's still always normal that, you're going to return to the other side. Whatever your belief system is of that other side, it's there, it's real. And so it's nothing to be scared of. When consciousness is seen as transcending a physical body, the loss of said body feels less tragic. And it does. And even though, like when they say the two biggest losses one can have in life is the death of a child and the death of a parent, because those are the two closest relationships we have in any lifetime, typically, or at least one of the other. And so going through that, you can build up your fear of going through it, even of experiencing that, of figuring how much it's going to hurt you once it comes, that you create that fear in place. So when it gets there, you are going to be demolished because you set out to be demolished. It's just like with me losing Jake. I always thought that, yeah, I'm going to be a basket case when that time comes. I don't know how I'm going to manage that. Yet, he pops in a lot, so I don't miss him as much as I did. Sure, I'm still grieving the loss of his physical form here all the time and me taking care of him and being such a part of my schedule. But that said, I know he's in a better place and his body's not holding him down. When my mom died, I was grateful that she wasn't in pain anymore and that she could be free and do what she wanted to do and go where she wanted to go without limits and walls. So it was yes, it hurt to lose her. Yes, I still went through the stages of grieving, but it was an understanding too that it's a good thing because you're becoming free, and you don't have cats walking across you in the middle of your show, completely oblivious to everything, huh? Boop, 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 boop. Gonna move along now? Yeah. Move. What? What are you sniffing me? My makeup or what? Come on. Don't just do something. Stand there. I love you, but can you move off my arm like you're like halfway in, straddling my arm? Yes, I love you, but can you get down? Because I can't read my notes or see the chat or anything. Yeah, because your big body blocking it. Blocking, blocking. Come on, move over. I love you too, but move along. It's not kitty love time. How about over here? Do. Over here. There you go. All right. Thank you for your visit. No, 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 no. Guess what? I'll hover over the table so you can't climb on me again. Um, Thank you, Lori. And yeah, I've had my moments where I broke down over missing him, and but I don't unpack and stay there because I know he's free and he's better off, and it's okay. Losing my husband was very hard on me. Sure, it's normal to go through the grieving process, and there are very definite stages of grief. There is no timeline on it, there's no order to the stages. You can circle back around to a stage you thought you were done with. You hear something that triggers your emotions, a song, a snippet of a word being said, come across something that reminds you of them in some way, and you'll get transported back into it. But it's again, you don't unpack and stay there. You give yourself that moment, and then you decide consciously through mindful thinking that you are going to make it be a good day. Okay, so it's the anniversary of the loss of them from your life. Sad day, right? But they don't want us living in a state of depression and grieving constantly. So give yourself a moment, but then to choose that it's going to be a good day. If it kills you, you're going to make it be a good day. Go out and do something in honor of them that they enjoy doing that you like too. To have that be, like I'm paying homage to you by doing this for you. Go get your favorite ice cream, whatever it is that that made you and brought you joy with regards to them. But you don't have to decide ahead of time that you are going to be in a depressive state all day just because the calendar tells you it's the anniversary of when they left this plane. Conscious choice. My dad didn't feel anything since he died on impact in a car crash. Right. Waves of memories. I love those. Yeah. And, when it's the anniversary of when my mom died, I give myself a moment to acknowledge the day. And then I'd say, I say, love you. I miss you. If I'm going to have a couple of tears, okay. But then it is pack it up and make it a good day. Make the best of it. And some years it hits harder than others, and that's all right. But you don't just pre-design it to be it's going to be a horrible day. I'm going to make sure it is no matter what. Doesn't make sense. But it's normal to have the different stages of grief and come back and turn around through it 100 times. That's normal. There is no timeline for or time frame for it, but don't unpack and stay there. They want us to be happy. They don't like seeing us hurting and still stuck in the grief. It's time to put it away and move on, because we're here living and we're meant to live this life, not live in a state half a step away from dying ourselves, because we're shutting down and shutting out life. Not good. My friend mentions the phrase dumb bunnies. Remind me of my mom. That's what she called us. Yeah. When I hear that, the song that Heather put on, I call her a CYNT. I know what you mean by that one. It usually just comes back in music. We all have triggers, and that's normal. It's normal. But what you do with those triggers is up to you to choose that. There's no right or wrong way to grieve, but again, don't unpack and stay there. Be aware and don't automatically decide this is going to be a horrible day because the calendar's telling me it's the anniversary they died. All right, so it's the anniversary of their death. How about celebrating their life instead? Go do something in their memory, like whatever it's going to take, but don't unpack and stay and create it to be the worst day ever. My mom told us that she said, just think of her and move on. Yeah, they don't want us being all emo forevermore. They know it's normal that you're going to grieve. Okay, but they don't want to see you be that way for the duration of your life and stuck in it. We're here for a reason, and we're meant to see it through, and we go home when we know we're going to go home, and we plan for that to be that. So we choose that. They don't want us depressed. My one son said he will flip out if I pass. I said, no, you go on with your life. I'll visit. Absolutely. Emu the bird? What are you talking about, Karen? Something I said? Like emo? But whatever, like I said, pick a good memory of them that brought you both happiness and focus on that, and then go do that. Go visit their place that was their favorite place and spend some time there remembering the good times you had with them. That's what makes them happy. Yep, emo. So, yeah, that's like a 90s term, emo. Emo is short for emotional, yeah, it is. But it means kind of like, being off kilter emotionally towards more of the negative side of things. My mom hated this song by Michael Jackson, Remember the Time. I had her alarm set to radio and not the bin. That's what came on every morning. Yeah, there are certain triggers for everybody, but again, you don't get all emo and get stuck there. So when consciousness is seen as transcending a physical body, the loss of that body, it does feel a little bit less tragic. You allow the healing to take place instead of fighting against it. You're never going to forget them. As long as you're here on this planet, they still are here too, because you're half of them. And you're a culmination of every ancestor that walked this planet before you got here. They're in your DNA, so you're not going to ever forget about them, but you don't got to sit and think about the people things either. Seeing death as inevitable and of being a freeing thing as part of the process, it helps allow for peace to happen and removes the fear. So the more conscious, aware you are, the less fearful you are of death and what's on the other side. Not seen as a bad thing. Number 9 is increasing authenticity. With your awakening comes a sense of confidence and a deep sense of self-worth. Now, and any of you may not be having experienced all of these things. These are just common signs that you are going through your awakening. Just throwing that out there. So with your awakening comes a sense of confidence and deep sense of self-worth. You come to figure out that you're not a worthless piece of crap. You work through your traumas that you carried with you that kept those thoughts present in yourself, and you allow yourself to grow past them to become all that you were meant to be, not what someone else says you're going to be or that you are. So you no longer feel the need to conform to cultural norms or even to be politically correct most of the time. It became a term of what's that word? Subcultural term, if you will, of calling those people who are hypersensitive, the cancel culture, all that stuff, as though they're a snowflake because they melt so quick and are gone. They can't handle anything happening to them because they're so fragile. And yes, you stop worrying so much about that. And you go out and do what you're meant to do because you're meant to do it. You look to be happy as you can be while here and have the experiences you came into this life to have, learn and grow from them, and then it's time to go home. Like, not a bad path there. You end up, there's a complete satisfaction with who you are and the choices you make. You're good. Like, you have this moment of awareness that you are content with where you are on your path and the life you are leading. Like, really, if you had the choice to tweak something, there's nothing major you would tweak because you're satisfied with what's in front of you, where you've gone, where you've come from, and where you're going. You're just content. That's happiness. And we're not taught that by society that is feeling happy, but yeah, it's having that awareness of, wow, I'm really content right now. All my needs are met and I'm good. Like, I'm not living a life of lack. I have all of the universe make sure that, it has my back. And anytime I've ever worried about things I don't have, and oh my God, what am I going to do? You know what? The universe has my back. I trust that. And I remind myself of that. Don't go into panic mode, that trust. And something comes through at the last second to make sure my needs get met. And if they aren't, well, they're not big needs anyway. I so am. Yeah. I tell my kids, I hope you learn from my mistakes of what I do and do the good things I did. Yeah, and everybody has to make their own mistakes. Every kid does, and that can be hard to watch them. Don't hyper criticize them and judge them and, make them feel they're incapable of making decisions. But yes, we're still here to offer guidance even when they're an adult, if we're still here for that. So, um, it's not your job to please others or to tread gently on every little thing you come across. Speak your truth. Everybody has the right to speak your truth. Just try not to be hurtful in doing so. Don't cram it down people's throats. If you're going to hear this no matter what, what it takes me to get you to hear this, you will hear this. No, don't be like that, but always speak your truth in your walk. Yes, we're here to guide. Absolutely, Lori. And so it's always okay to speak your truth. Even if it doesn't agree with everybody else around you, that's okay. They got their path, you got yours. It's okay. It's not your job to make them happy or to get their approval on your life. It's your life, not theirs. And I hear that with people all the time who get stuck into self-created boxes. Well, I can't do that because of my family, my family, my family. No, you know what? You still, all of us, every one of us has free will and can choose that. And they're so worried about what those people are going to think of you. You don't live your life the way you choose because you're trying to make everybody else happy. I want them to not do what I did wrong. They'll learn. Absolutely. I have a magnet on my fridge that I've had since I think it was one of the first magnets I bought as an adult that stand up for your convictions, even if you stand alone. Walk your walk. I finally learned to speak my truth more often instead of just agreeing to everything, says Sandy. Exactly. And, for me, I didn't have a voice when I was younger of my own. It was, told what to do and the expectations in order to make everyone else happy. And if I started to talk and someone else talked over me, I would just shut down and stop. I would fade into the background. And now look at me. You can't get me to shut up most of the time. But I'm not cramming my opinion down everyone's throat of it's got to be Donna's way or no way. No, supportive of whatever is right for you, but do you. It's your path, not mine. This is how I chose to handle it. If you resonate with it, great. If it can help you, great. But make your own choices. Yeah, I went through phases where up until probably early teen years, just before preteen years ended, I was so shy. I was a wallflower. I couldn't call anyone on the phone. And my mother was always trying to get me to call people to try to get over my shyness about it. And I just was like, I was so internalized in everything I did and never was allowed an opinion of my own to where I had my voice. And then I went through a period of being angry at everything. Everything pissed me off because I recognized that this isn't right and this isn't fair. And why does it have to be this way? I'm not happy with this and I want it to be different, but no one's hearing me. And I went too far to the other extreme where I had anger management issues. Yeah, me, I got pissed off. It was zero prompting. It was like a 0 to 60 thing and I'd be set off. Yeah, I did protest in school too. And, but I had to find going into, early adulthood, getting on the high school time frame, recognizing that way of the zero fuse anger management stuff wasn't getting me anywhere. It wasn't cutting it. And I had to step up my game in order to be different and have it and make it different from what it had been. I had to create that myself. And so I went after that and I made it different for myself. And each and every one of you are capable of the same thing. So speak your truth. Even if you're the only one speaking it, that's okay. You're allowed to have your voice, and you are valuable in and unto your own self. I caught the girls' bathroom on fire at school. Oh boy, yeah, that's a bit destructive. Was it intentional? I got always tired of being the good little girl that everybody expected me to be and never get upset, never have any problems, and always do what was expected, and be complacent and be compliant at all times. And I grew frustrated with that role everybody shoved me into. And I started going too far to the other extreme. So who and what I am now is my happy medium for me. Yes, you did. Protested stupid shit like dissecting a frog in 7th grade. I refuse to do that too. And it says, as long as your partner is doing it, you can take notes and it's okay. I've been talked over a lot. I just learned to be heard in the last few years. Right. And we eventually find our own voice, at some point in our lives, and it's okay to have it. You are your own sovereign, unique being unto yourself. And everyone deserves that right to have that without judging or protesting it from somebody else and trying to always make everyone else happy. Excuse me. So you focus on your own path, let everybody else worry about theirs. The 10th common sign of having your awakening is flourishing. So awakened people have a level of well-being that's more consistent in terms of, there's like a mind-body connection, which translates into being happier and healthier. I was such a sickly kid growing up. I caught anything and everything. I almost died 4 times before I hit the age of 5 from chronic pneumonia and then chronic ear infections that led to my moderate deafness on both sides. Vision issues. Like, I was just a mess. And the older I got, the more I kind of came onto my own path and understanding my place in the world better. I started getting sick less often. And now, knock on wood, I haven't been sick. This is like the 3rd or 4th year now since I don't get any of the common colds that go around. I don't get all the, I used to always be down every year. It was guaranteed severe bronchitis and a sinus infection, severe bronchitis and strep throat. Or, it was always something big and bad that would take me out for a whole week in bed before I started feeling better. And it was like clockwork. And since that time, last time I was sick was with the flu. Yes, I was horribly sick, but it was really only the first 3 days of it, and then after that I started getting better, and I survived it. But your body, your mind, body, and soul come into alignment with each other. There's less opposition there and more growing into it together as one unit, and then it raises your vibration up. You end up happier because then your needs are getting met. You have your own voice. You're walking your path. And so less things go wrong in your life that impact your health and your mental health and your emotional state, your immune system, all of that stuff. And by the same token, if we dip back into the old ways of where we used to be, then our bodies start to fall to pieces, and anything and everything that can go wrong does go wrong with our bodies and our minds. And then that leads to being depressed too. And they end up vibing apart and crashing into each other again. And it's about bringing them back together, not pulling them apart. You fight or get ass beating. Grip only the strong sword. Yeah, we, in our generation especially, we kind of half raised ourselves, and the expectations of growing up sooner was a lot different than they are today, where you have like an extended permissible long childhood into early adulthood. You learned you had to stand on your own 2 feet, or stuff didn't happen or get done. So, yes, the world's changed. So you end up flourishing when you're in alignment with your mind, body, and spirit. So how to assist in your spiritual awakening? There's different things you can do. That if you are feeling stuck and not really understanding like what comes next, or, all right, I get it, I'm here, but now what? Well, there are things you can do to help promote moving forward again with it. And each one is not for everybody. It's finding which one's going to work for you. So things like meditation, spending time outside in nature, laughing, dancing, connecting with your community, volunteering, practicing gratitude, slowing down, and being in the now moment instead of always go, go, go into the future. Enjoy what moment is in front of you now. Stop and pay attention. Wow, what a beautiful sunset tonight. Holy cow. That struck me when I was on my way back from getting that biopsy done. Is okay, yeah, the procedure sucked, but you know what? It's over. But it also, I'm getting to see a gorgeous sunset on the ride home. And I got to see all the holiday lights everybody had up lit up because I don't tend to go out at night normally. And it was getting dark and I got to see all that. So hey, there's some good things. So instead of focusing on, oh my God, this sucks and this I hated this hurt, this. No, it was wow. I'm happy that it allowed me to be out and experience these things. Can't keep off the phone. Yep. So, it's absolutely, Sandy. So taking the time to pause and notice that little ladybug crawling on the leaf of the plant as you're walking along. Taking time to walk in the grass rather than the sidewalk. Little things, take notice of what is around you and stop and enjoy them. Okay, Mary, you have a good night, lady. And, many of us have followed suit with the younger generation where, we used to poo poo the internet of it's all they do is have their faces in the internet and playing games all day long and they're not interacting anymore. Well, you know what? We are doing the same things now that they are, and we count on the internet every bit as much. And our devices are never too far from us, and we have to have our heads down and faces in it. Oh, very cool, Sandy. Meteor shower in the morning, cool. And so it's finding those little things that bring you joy and raise your vibration higher and taking notice of the beauty. I mean, we live in a lot of beauty all around us, and yet we don't stop and notice it most of the time. Kim hugs trees. There you go. And, so it's taking the time to do that, and that will help you continue to move on your path. Yeah, no, I'm a tree hugger. I tell people that my dad laughs at me because I'll call myself a tree hugger. And he's like, yeah, you damn tree huggers. Yeah, so what of it, Dad? What are you going to do? Like, you're a tree cutter downer. Like, it's not a bad thing. So, okay. So remember I mentioned that gentleman, Deepak Chopra, who was like one of the pioneers in this field. There is a center that he started and is still running today called the Chopra Center. He passed out in a tree. Wow. It's a good thing he didn't fall out, I guess. My sinuses are starting up again. Holy cow. You hear all that snuffly I got going on? Dang. Probably put a furnace running more again because it's colder out again. Let me turn the salt lamp on too. You know what? I saw, as an aside, while I take this, a recent study that was like a scientific discovery type of show. And they were setting out to prove or disprove, do Himalayan salt lamps actually help people? And they took them into a lab, they turned it on, they left it on, on high for several hours to heat up. And then they tested the ionic field that they're supposed to impact. And there was no noticeable difference that came out of the testing. However, I can definitely say if I'm really sinusy and snuffly, I put that on and it clears me up and it makes it not so dry and snuffly. Doesn't stay packed in my sinuses. It helps my allergies. So I oftentimes have it on at home because it's a dusty old house. So see, they do impact things. Whether science says no, not really, I notice a difference. So if you're thinking of getting one, by all means, have at it. Well, it does work, in my opinion. Sudafed helps too. So the 5 stages of a spiritual awakening from the Chopra Center. Number 1 is glimpsing spirit, the call to adventure. This is the start of the break from everyday life as you have known it to be. Did it really make you worse? That's surprising. I've not ever heard anyone say that before. Yeah, no, I love that one. So this is just starting to break from your everyday life as you have known it to be, where you get stuck in the same old ruts and patterns, and it catches your attention and starts leading you in new directions. And that's okay. You don't fight them. You go see where those directions might be leading to. It's okay to get lost, and don't panic because you're lost and you're in an unfamiliar territory. It's all right to step out of the known sometimes and go see where something leads. And don't tread all the paths everybody else made. Make your own damn path for a change. When we were little and got colds, Mom would boil water and put the salt in it and have us breathe steam, and it really helped. Yep, my mother used to put Vicks Vapor Rub in the boiled water with a towel over your head, and that was foul stuff. I won't lie. Yeah. I mean, it helped, but man, it was rugged. The salt lamp over that. You kept sneezing anyway. Maybe something else was triggering your allergies, or it depends on how big of one you have and if you're sitting right next to it, or some people have ones in each rooms, or several in one room spread out around the house. Use Vicks and a vaporizer. Yep, that's another thing that a lot of people do. It's menthol, and that helps clear the sinus path and the bronchial tubes. But it's raw stuff. So it's okay to get lost and see where the new direction is going to take you. You might surprise yourself and find something new that you like and enjoy that you never tried before, never saw yourself doing it. It's okay. It was right on the bed by my head. Huh. My guess is maybe you were allergic to something in your bed or bedding that was triggering your allergies. Because I know for me, when mine start, because that's why it's on my nightstand, is I'll be, trying to sleep, but I'm all snuffly and can't breathe, and it helps keep me clear so I can sleep better. Every life has a moment that changes everything forever. Everybody has one thing that they can point a finger to that says, yes, that was the event that got my attention to there being something more out there than what I previously known or thought. I've heard all kinds of different things from different people over the years, from, that they were passing by my show and never heard of me before, but took the time to stop and listen, and holy cow, they resonated what was being said, or they came across a book or a poem or something that got their attention to start changing and having that path happen. My mom used to grease my neck and chest and pin a sock around my neck. Huh. I know the furnace gets me going the more it runs, because it probably hasn't been cleaned since the year I was born, because my landlord doesn't worry about such things. And I am highly allergic to dust, mold, and mildew, so whole house. So every life has a moment that changes everything forever. It can be a bad event that happens, but it ended up shifting your focus. For me, it was my car accidents I had, especially the first one. That knocked me out of the damn game for 2 years. And I had to stop and, find new ways to do things and look at things. And that led me here. So I can't be mad that I had the accidents, even though, yeah, I'm still impacted by the results of it today. I wouldn't be doing what I do with you guys if I hadn't gone through that. So I can't blame people who caused them. It was a bad decision on their part and a split-second choice that made it happen. They didn't set out to hurt me or take me out. It was a bad choice in a moment. So, okay. But it led me here. So I'm okay with that. Yeah, my house is naturally dusty too. Yep, no, I have some down under too, and when nothing else is working, I use Vicks too. So you start to become a conscious participant in your spiritual growth and evolution. Instead of just watching the world go by and happen to you, you go out and seek those experiences. You're interested in learning more. You want to find out more of those answers and have them make sense to you. You're not afraid of it anymore. You go to look for further enlightenment. You don't stop growing once you get a taste of it. And that's really what it's about. So Something about the doctor trying to figure out why this, I don't know. There's a subtle shift in your perception that's taken place, and everything feels the same, and yet it oddly is different at the same time. You may not be able to put your finger on what about it's different. You just know that something has changed. That's like a really early sign that someone can experience with their awakening, that you're just maybe starting to see it differently than you once did, but something is just different. And at that point, you can't put your finger on it yet because you don't know what to call it. Or, like somebody said earlier about, being, I think it was Lori said about being an empath, that, she'd had that for most of her life, but she didn't know there was a name for it until, a few years ago. And so, yeah, it's being aware of that something's changed. And then you want to see, you stop being afraid of information and knowledge. Knowledge is power. And if you're too old to learn, you might as well call it a day and head home, because you're never too old to learn new stuff and to keep growing. So number 2 is closer examination, choosing a path. Now, this stage can feel unsettling and unfamiliar. You're starting to get out of your element and stuff is new. You are not sure what to think because it bucks the system of what you'd always believed to be true and how you handled it. Now you're not so sure what to think about stuff. You may be partially skeptical on certain things where you want to try to understand it better and believe, but it's still bucking that system that you came out of, but it hasn't firmly landed its feet now to where you're on the other side of it. I noticed when I turned 57, 58 now. Yeah, you're never too old to have this shift happen. Anybody can, a child can go through their awakening and be raised with these ideals that this is their norm. Are they going to fit in with their peers? Probably not. But is that, such a bad thing in the long run? Probably not. It's about, you have that moment. Your attention shifts. Things are starting to be different and don't know what to think about it. But then you start to see evidence, and the more you seek it, the more evidence is right there in front of you the entire time, and you just chose not to see it. So it can be unsettling and unfamiliar when you're first starting down that path. Everything you once thought was fixed and stable can now be called into question. Whether it's religious beliefs, whether it is your family's dynamics and structure, whether it is how you were taught to view the world in general. You thought that was a done deal, game over. This is what I can expect from these things. And it turns out, yeah, maybe not so much. At this point, you may set out to find a new way or path or philosophy that will remap your worldview. Often it's marked by a period of informational gathering, self-study, delving into other religions or psychology even. You see people different. Yeah, it's a lack of, you're not judging so quickly now. And instead, maybe they have something else going on I don't know about that's leading them to be that way. Who knows? It could happen, and it usually does happen. That did go down. It stuck to my tongue. So you start to, like I said, look around more, exploring more. It's less of a thing to be afraid of. And I got to find out more about that. And it's okay to shake up the foundation of what you were raised in. Many people who started out life as Christians, you hear me say it all the time, you don't ever fully get rid of that as your foundation if that's what you started out as. If you happen to grow and expand upon it to understand more of it and things better and differently, that's okay. Your foundation's still there. You're not betraying anything. You're just growing, and that's not a bad thing. So, and it also, you also seek out and start to explore, hey, what are other religious beliefs? What is the psychology of this? How does this work? You gain to seek more increase in understanding. Number 3 is seeking and following the path. This step calls you to be more of a spiritual seeker. to seek out those, a lot of people, we hear it all the time, of whatever their foundational beliefs were, they were told, oh, it's just because that's the way it is. And have faith and trust. And that's the only answer, is to accept it just because it is. And you're left as a kid saying, what if it's not that? Or, well, that's not an answer just because. There has to be a reason. And then why? And so you seek out those why answers to make sense of it more, and to be able to move past it rather than being stuck behind it and not getting it. You get it and you move on to seek out more. My boyfriend, I see different now. Known him 20 years. Yeah, you do. And you find out that, sometimes love isn't enough in a relationship. You may love the person, but you're not in love with them anymore. That can happen. People grow at different rates, where you kept growing and they stayed the same as they were 20 years before, and nothing's changed, but you're not the same. And at that point, no, it's not going to work the same way, because how can it? You're not going to ever go back to being who you used to be, and you can't. So are they going to join you where you are, or at least evolve their path for themselves, or stay stuck? We can't control that. You got to remember that universal truth. You cannot control what anyone else says, thinks, or does. We spend so much time trying to do those things, everyday life, but you can't. So it's a matter of recognizing, okay, I'm not impacting this. They don't want to change it. More power to you, but I got work to do over here, and I'm going to go that way. I'll talk to you later. Don't walk away from the person per se, but you let them be stuck if they choose to be stuck. Everybody has free will. You don't like how something is, stop being a doormat, get up off the floor and make the changes in your life. It's okay if it's scary. There are people holding out their hands all around you, and the right ones will be on your path when you need them the most, to help lead you where you want to go. What got me looking further, says Nancy, was the book Chariot of the Gods. Yep. Karen says duct tape. Well, in certain circles, duct tape fixes everything. So, it calls you to seek out those answers and to become more, be more. Once your path has been found of what's right for you, you regulate your practice, you start studying and learning and gaining discipline, and it serves to take you deeper towards an expanded awareness and understanding of things. And so one begets the other, basically. This stage is marked by self-referral. This is where your identity begins to shift from your ego to the internal stillness of your intuition, and trusting that guidance is there. And again, even if it doesn't seem like it's the universe is paying attention, or God, or whatever energy or name you want to give that force, it doesn't mean it's not there and it's not working for your greater good. And in the moment, many times, because we can't see right in front of our faces of what is right in front of us, we look at it just as, this is in my way, and I don't know what to do to move it, and it's in my way. But down the road, that being in your way, it led you to find the right path to go on, to lead you where you end up being down the road. And you had no clue back then that that's where you're going to end up. I know I'm a completely different person than I ever used to be. If y'all met me back, in my earlier years, you probably would have turned and ran the other way, and never mind coming closer to me and being family. So people can change, but there has to be an openness to do so. You guys are funny. So you got to figure out what's right for you and what's going to keep you moving to expand your awareness. And understanding, like we were talking before, where your conscious ego mind starts to see your subconscious not as the enemy, but hey, let's tag team this and work together. And that process starts to happen too. You begin to know yourself as a soul being living a human life, while continuing towards progressive growth of your consciousness to raise it. And this is, that stage where you become aware of the fifth dimensional consciousness, and understanding that's a better, happier place to be than down low or below you. Get it up there. It feels better. So 2 markers to let us know that expanded awareness is underway is there's a raised sense of lightheartedness, happiness, and joy are your states, your like your status quo overall. So you find yourself being just happy where you are. And it lets you know in your whether you're aligned with the universe or not. And if you're not in that happiness state, then what is keeping me from getting there? And okay, so I acknowledge this. This needs attention now. This needs fixing or working on. Okay, I tweaked it. And then you go back to being in, moving forward again. Through that alignment, you remove mental, physical, and energetic blockages that are in your way to your desires being fulfilled. So we are our own worst enemies. We get in our own ways way too often. It's about, of where traumas are coming up for people. And people are like, oh God, I don't want to look at that. That hurts. That was painful. I don't, I can't deal with that. If I start to cry, I'm never going to stop. Yes, you will. You will stop crying. But once you face off with it and deal with it and take back the power that got taken from you in a situation and you turn it around to empower yourself, then you kind of mastered that choice. And from there, you go on to keep growing. And things are now, because things are shifting within the world, more things that we didn't have resolved within us are coming to the surface to be dealt with and faced off with, to be fixed, and so we can move forward without carrying them all with us, because there isn't any space for all that junk in the higher states of conscious being. So you have to deal with it in order to release it. And it doesn't mean you have to go back and relive it to deal with it and release it. Not at all. It's acknowledging, hey, I went through this and this sucked, but you know what? It helped make me who I am. What was the lesson I had to learn from that? Oh, I see. Even in the most horrific situations that we can face growing up, there's lessons there. May not seem like it, and sometimes you got to look for them, but they're there. They're meant to teach you something. Even if it's, I'm stronger than I knew I could be, or I learned that I can stand on my own 2 feet and the world won't come crashing down around me. Those are valuable lessons. Those are invaluable lessons. So if that's all you can take from a past trauma, cool. Lesson learned. Moving on now, on to the next. So it's something to be aware of, that is natural for that to happen, but don't fight it. And like with the law of attraction, because thought, emotions, and intentions create, Abraham Hicks is kind of like the Seth Speaks being, except Seth said that he was like an individual spirit guide. Whereas in both cases of the Abraham Hicks stuff, as well as the teachings of Michael, they said that they are a collection of about 1,200 soul beings who are teachers that are there to help guide us and teach us about certain aspects of our soul. And Abraham Hicks deals with the law of attraction. The teachings of Michael deals with reincarnation. Seth taught about the validity of the soul and that it is eternal. So they all come from different angles, but they're all teaching about the same thing in common. And so with the law of attraction, all day long throughout our day, God, I hate that. Oh my God, I love that. Oh, that's my favorite. No, not too keen on that. We say those things, so that's putting the intention out there, clearly stating what we do and don't like. And it gets, the good stuff kind of gets collected into a pot, mixed together, the energy of which you can tap into simply by choosing to shift how you're thinking about things through mindful thinking, to where you're not sitting constantly hamster wheeling it, overthinking negative thoughts, and instead you're turning it positive, and you will start to see your outer environment change, because your outer environment is a reflection of the inner you. I'll say that again. Your outer environment is a reflection of the inner you. Your emotional state of being, if you are in a state of chaos inside of yourself, well, your living environment is going to be messy and sloppy and dirty. You're going to have a lot of negative people around you who are causing more chaos and drama, and it's going to reflect how you are inside yourself. And by the same token, when you evolve onto a higher level, you stop settling for all that other stuff. You start to figure out what's important and you reside with that. And if someone can't be supportive unconditionally to you, you will not allow space in your life for them to occupy it. And through those choices, life gets better. I learned mindful thinking after years of the pain made a difference. Absolutely. It totally makes a difference. Even I consider myself a positive realist. So if it doesn't deserve a pretty bow on it, I'm not going to slap one on everything just in the name of being nice. If it sucks, I'll call it out and say that sucks. However, I always add to it, you know what, but it could be worse. At least it's not da 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 da. And that is my way of putting it into perspective to say there's always somebody else out there who has a little bit worse than you. Stop pity partying yourself and get over it. And that's how I deal with stuff. And with this the law of attraction and so forth. And several of you in the group have heard this story that I had a moment where I'm like, I kept hearing about it. And I said, all right, I'll give it a month, 30 days of my life. And I will really try to practice mindful thinking and start changing my focus on how I view stuff. And it was at the most worst time of my life as an adult that I took this on. And lo and behold, where in that perspective before, I saw it as my mom always raised me with the adage of when all the doors are closed, there's a window crack somewhere. Meaning there's always a solution somewhere to help find a way out of a hole. Sometimes you gotta look harder for it, but it's there. In that situation, I was out, all the windows and doors were shut and nailed and barricaded, and there wasn't nothing open. And it permeated a sense of hopelessness on my part. And I lost trust and faith in the universe during that time. And so through giving it that 30 days of really trying to shift my focus, my thoughts, my attentions and intentions, things started getting better in my outward environment. Better things started coming before me to where it allowed me and helped me get happy again. And I had to admit at the end of it that there's something to that. It works. So for those who don't practice it, you have nothing to lose but everything to gain. Lori says, is that why my house is clean but my bedroom looks like a tornado came through? Yeah, very well could be. That because you keep the rest of it clean because you're worried of what others will think of you if you let it get like your bedroom is. But your bedroom is your more intimate, like if you think of it as a bullseye, so your bedroom is you, and it's your immediate, most intimate environment. And going out from there is the rest of the house that others can see, and you're worried of what they're going to think about you. So you make sure you keep it clean so they think that you're a nice, clean person. But your bedroom can be chaotic because that's representing your space within yourself. I can forgive, I can stop judging and have the right not to associate with them, says Kim. Absolutely. And so it's a matter of practicing mindful thinking. Karen's picking up as she's listening. Being aware of that your internal struggles, fights, negative emotions, things that upset us and bother us that we're stressing over, it's going to manifest outwardly around us, and it's going to bring more on your path instead of the good things you want. Well, you know what I mean by intimacy, as far as like it's the internal, that's your safe space in the world, and you have it be exactly how you want it to be, and nobody sees it but you. And so that's like your sacred space is your bedroom. But you won't let the rest of the house get that way because, hey, anybody could drop by and see it. And, oh my God, what are they going to think of it if they see that? Who cares? I used to keep a perfect house. Now it's a big mess. I grew up, my mother was a neat freak and very OCD. And that's how because so much in her early life was so chaotic that a lot of people as adults who grew up like that, they have OCD tendencies, not full-blown OCD per se, but they can have a lot of traits of it. And controlling how clean her house was her way of having some measure of control in her life. So she was a freaking neat freak. She taught me how to be too. And I followed suit in my early adult years, where everything, I would flip out if someone made a sandwich on the counter without putting a plate under it. and did not cleaning up after the crumbs. I'd lose my shit. And as like health stuff from the car accidents, now all that other stuff, kind of got worse, I became less capable of keeping it to the degree I used to. It's not dirty. Is it cluttered? Yeah, because there's no storage space here, but it's organized chaos. Things are being moved around and shifted, but it's not all the entire house. It's not a pigsty. It's not disgusting. Anybody could walk in here and I probably wouldn't even say, oh, sorry about that. My bedroom is also my office. Right. It's your intimate space. Sandy says, I started saying, are you coming to see me or my house? Exactly. Grandbabes is not clean. And that's okay, but you pay more attention on keeping the rest of it presentable, at least. Whereas your bedroom, yeah, not so much. I have a cat, it's cleaning up. Exactly. And I had to start kind of, again, as there are cobwebs on the ceiling, sometimes because I don't walk around looking up all the time, when I do or see it in a certain light with my vision and stuff, it's like, oh my, look at those cobwebs. All right, it's time to do cobwebs again. I don't go, can't climb furniture to wash walls and ceilings like I once did. And I'm not anal retentive about it like I once was. And my daughter, she had ADD. So any time she came home through the door, she left a trail like a snail behind her through the house. And I used to get all freaked out by it and upset and yelling at her and getting on her about it. And I came to recognize she's not doing this on purpose to piss me off. Yeah, some of it's laziness on her part, but she's also making no effort to pick it up. So I would just, rather than having a meltdown, pick up anything that was on the floor and throw it in the room. You want to live in that space with being that messy, that's on you. But you're making tripping hazards by leaving a trail like a snail through the house of your stuff. So take care of it. And she'd end up having to spend 6 hours on a weekend cleaning a small bedroom because she was too lazy to take care of it during the week. But eventually she, balanced it out. And I think for her, she went through the same period of being OCD-ish with her environment. And that's where she's at. I don't care. It doesn't impact me. So do you. But I used to clean like that. Seriously, looks like my closet threw up. When my basement flooded, I went from 2 floors to 1. Yeah, my cat's a Slavic. Girl, she tracks litter everywhere. I'll find treats or cat food in different rooms in her food. Yep, that too. On the bed, kitty litter will get under the blankets, and it's like, how? You weren't even down there on the bed before, and yet it works its way into the bedding. So instead of Jake hair everywhere now as much, it's more her kitty litter paws. Yeah, so number 4 is a loss of sight, losing the path. Now, this path, as glorious as it is, life-altering as it is, it's not without struggle. There are barriers in your way of importance, like turning points in your life you're still going to have. These can come in forms of enemies, rivals, life circumstances, or setbacks that block your passage forward, that make you question your path. Am I going the right direction still? Where am I on my path? Am I meant to be doing this? It makes you step back and question everything. And can it even lead to like giving up on your quest in general? Like just saying, this isn't worth it, it's too much trouble, I'm not doing this. However, instead of viewing it that way, through mindful thinking, again, viewing it as these bigger things that happen in our lives, we are meant to experience them because we're going to take, if you can turn it around and take the lesson from it, that's why that stuff happens, is it's there to teach you something. But it's up to you whether you, through free will, if you're going to choose to get the lesson from it or not. And if not, it's going to surface again down the road. And even then, sometimes the smaller things that happen in our life, I call them speed bumps. It's going to test you to see, all right, so you mastered it in that situation over there. Let's see if you can apply that lesson over here and do it over here too. Did she really learn it, or was it just in that situation? So we have speed bumps that happen. It's where you learn opportunities for growth and learning come from those things. So yes, some people seem to have more of them than others. Well, maybe that's part of their own journey as well. Maybe we do set that up before coming into a new life of the bigger things we're gonna face and deal with. What are you gonna remember more? Something you went through and how you handled it, or something somebody just tells you, hey, you know what, Lori, this is the lesson you're meant to learn here. You're gonna be, oh, okay, and then 2 seconds later, zoom, it's gone. So it's meant to have it instilled within you because you survived it. I don't really care. So my dog likes to jump. Okay, so we're just talking about dog and cat habits. Okay. The good thick talk. So these again you may feel lost or helpless, have spiritual blindness of I don't know where to go next. I'm stuck. So I just am gonna sit here waiting and hoping something's gonna change because I don't know where to go next. Get quiet and listen. That intuition is there to guide you on, is that the right choice to make or not? Is that a good choice to make? Am I meant to make that choice? We get those answers, but you got to trust them when you get them and not doubt it and go in the opposite direction, because then you're stepping off the path again. So get quiet and listen. And remember, as Robert Frost said, the only way out is through. So there is no circumventing and going around getting those lessons, that because you're going to carry it into your next life if you don't learn them in this one. We are designing what we're going to deal with in our next life now. If you don't get a lesson this time around, you're going to keep on having it put in front of you with the hopes that you will choose to take the lesson it's meant to give you, or it's going to show up somewhere else and it might be worse next time because you didn't listen the first time. So it gets more severe and louder of a lesson until you get it and stop backtracking. And don't just shut down and stay, I don't know where to turn, so I'm just going to sit here and watch the passage of the world in front of me and do nothing. So keep doing what you're doing, and you'll know if it doesn't feel right or not. If it's the direction you're meant to go in or not, it won't feel right. It won't feel good. Well, it's not all things that feel good are good for you, of course, but you know what I mean. Internally, you won't feel right about it. So number 5 is seeing and merging with the path. At this point, you're no longer striving to see. You do see. You see it's different. You see how things are outside of the box that you grew up in, and you see things as they actually really are. And you emerge into a state of unity, that one unity consciousness that we talk about in different shows and group stuff. You become, you align yourself with the universe, you trust the process, and you go with it rather than fighting against the current and ending up swimming in place going nowhere. You awaken to your true, immortal, boundless soul self, and again, rather than staying stuck in a box. But some people choose that, and that's all right. That's their path, not yours. Doesn't mean you have to, or it's what you're meant to do. You continue to let go and peel back the layers until only pure beingness remains, where you just are and you exist. You understand your place in the universe and you're okay being there. It's no longer a scary thing. It's pretty clear what direction to go in, and of what is happiness, what's not, what is higher consciousness, what's not. Kind of have all that kind of experienced and figured out by then. So those are the main processes of going through one's awakening, in a nutshell, kind of, so to speak. So does any of this trigger you guys of, yep, that's where I'm at, or that's where I'm dealing with, or yeah, I do feel stuck on something? Does any of it resonate with you as this is what stage I'm in? Yes, says Nancy. Good. How about you, Kim? Does it make more sense now? You're stuck. Okay, so get quiet and go within yourself and figure out what feels right of a direction to go in. And it's okay to go through it as long as you are still moving forward and not being stuck in place. So, what happens when you're fully awake? One never finishes the journey in this lifetime because the nature of the human brain, we can only understand, we can't have all, we're not meant to have all of the answers to everything in this existence. So you just keep moving forward, keep growing. There's never a time where you're like, you've mastered all of it to where you achieve a state of perfection. There are those people who come pretty close to it, and is said amongst those who are in the know that, like, the Buddhists they come closest to the way, like those devout Buddhist monks and stuff who live that life of just complete Zen and being good, that's a place to aim for. They don't have all of the answers, but they got a pretty down pat. What about future lives? You do reach a point where you are an old soul age, and you kind of achieved what you set out to do, and then you make a choice, go do something you want to do for yourself on the other side. Go create a whole nother friggin' universe if you want to, because thought, emotions, and intentions create on the other side every bit as much as they do here, except it's a purer form of it because it's sheer energy, and you're only limited by yourself. I've talked to soul beings who, they recreate the time where they were happiest at a certain age in their life, and they go back knowing what they know now, but to live it over again because it was sheer joy. Others they travel everywhere they've always wanted to go and never could, without limits or boundaries. They go to other realms, dimensions, universes. They go on to help other people who are different beings in other places. And that choice at that point is yours to make. Going for the goal. Good. So your future lives, and sometimes even as a soul being, once you've kind of learned those lessons you're meant to have, you can still choose to come back here and have an earth life because you find it to be a beautiful planet, and you enjoy being human, and so you choose to come back again just for the sake of coming back again, or going to any other realm and dimension. You can go there and have a lifetime. It's just because you enjoy it and you want to, not because there's specific lessons that you still got to get on your path and on your way to evolve. It's that you just like it, and that's okay. But you don't have to at that point. You can take a break from coming back on the other side if you need to or want to, but you're not done with that path. You will eventually get back into the reincarnational cycle to see it done. So, that answer the question? My dear Miss Lori. Tomorrow's Taco Tuesday. Well, every day is kind of a Taco Tuesday day. I don't know. Look at all the letters of it. A could be Monday or Sunday, and C to be the third day of the week. And, you can play it out that way. And 3 days that are not covered by the word taco can be reheated tacos, leftover tacos, Eventually, you'd probably want something different, though. You are welcome. Now, as far as next question goes, now I can go all the way back to the very beginning of Willows Bend, starting at the very first episode, and just start moving through them all of the ones that weren't covered. Or if someone has a specific thing they'd like to see recovered who remembers them, happy to do that too. It probably would be a little less confusing if we start at the beginning rather than grabbing random notebooks off the shelf. You know what I mean? Like, this one was requested, and I'm cool with that. But as far as having it be organized a bit better than starting back at the beginning and going through them forward from there, we can do that. So it's you guys choose that, that. And while you guys are deciding or thinking how you want to handle it going forward, we still need the Soma Fusion dues unless you guys don't want to do and be up with Soma Fusion anymore. I've not heard a single word from anyone yet about it. And, Katie doesn't make a profit off of what she does. It covers the equipment she needs and the fees for being on the platforms to save them and broadcast it. So, but I don't feel like that should have to come out of my pocket too. So throwing it out there, but we normally have it by now and no one's given anything towards that. So if people could, if you want it, if you don't want to be up with it anymore, that's your choice to make. So this is your show more than it is mine. So whatever, you guys choose that. Deconstructed taco. So if you're able to throw a few bucks to it, and I don't expect the same one person to cover it month after month, obviously not. I mean, heck, if everybody who comes to the show, on average, we have between 10 and 15 people watching the show every time. Break that down, 25 bucks divided by 10 or 15 people, that's a couple bucks at most. So, it's up to you guys though, but you all voice you want the shows to be saved and saved safely, then this is how to do it for now. If you don't care, then throw it out there so Katie knows too. It's only fair. Thank you, Sandy. So I'm thinking as far as the topics go, it's going to be easier to kind of go back to the very beginning 3 years ago and start at ground zero for it, so to speak, and move forward through. And I don't have all the notebooks numbered, but I can figure out the dates where I dated them. I know what some of my earlier notebooks were, at least. But now I'm more organized on them, and I usually will put like episode blah 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 through blah 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 to give me a sense of what's in it. And then I also write out what all the topics covered for easy reference, so I can just look at the front and know what's in the notebook rather than trying to find it within all the pages. So a little bit later. Okay, well, my PayPal is pinned to the top in the group, as always, this time of month. So then I can forward it on to Katie, or you can directly send it to Soma Fusion on PayPal, whichever you want to do is easier. As long as it gets taken care of for her sake, it's, she's doing the work to be within hearing shot of all of us during the show, so she knows when we're starting and ending, and to handle the equipment stuff on her side and all that, and shares it out everywhere as well. So I would say yes, it's probably going to be easier to start towards the beginning and go forward than picking random topics. I mean, I can even be picking out the notebook and saying, do you guys reading the topics and say, what do you guys want to do out of this notebook? That's another option. So, and book group will be Wednesday night this week at 8 p.m. Eastern. Come in through Willows. Ben is usually the way, or however you can. Yeah, I mean, the lesson behind losing it all before to me was, don't be so attached to having a physical record of what I've accomplished in my life. However, it doesn't negate the fact that I did it. But yes, it was easier to say, hey, go look up and go watch that other episode on that and to learn and understand that topic. Or if you missed a show and really want to see it, it's there. Whereas, for me, that was my lesson behind that. So yeah, Katie just posted the PayPal and the Soma Fusion PayPal links there. If you want to send it directly to her, that's fine. And then she'll let me know when she's got all of it together, if more is needed to meet it or whatever. That's the only part that makes it easier by sending it to me, is that I know when we have it all together and I can send it on to her. If somebody happens to donate more to overshoots the 25, I just save that part of it for the next month. If there's not, like, say there's a couple times where we met like 50 or 45, I save the difference from a 25 until to go towards the next month. And then once I had that made, it was easier. We only had to have $10 for that month. So it's set aside in my PayPal account. So alrighty, my lovelies, then that's what we'll aim for next week. I'll go back and get my original Willows pen notebook from so long ago, and I'll go through and tell you what the topics are in there. You tell me which one you want to cover. And even if all of the notes, back in the beginning, who I broadcast through was very anal about me keeping the show to only an hour or less. she'd get all verklempt if I went over that. I know enough to expand upon it and talk about it if it's a smaller topic, whatever, or to combine topics together, like we've done before to make it a more full show. Like, we fudge it, so it's all good. So otherwise, thank you, Sandy. I will see whoever's interested for book group on Wednesday night. As an update, not everybody saw his post. Edwin's up and moving around much better. He has like a total of 6 fractured ribs. His cracked spleen is healing pretty decently. Thankfully, he's as healthy as he is. And he has, they have to basically reintubate his other lung because he's developed an air pocket on the outside of the lung that's impacting his breathing. So that's kind of where things are at for him right now. But he's healing and he's up and moving around, which is a good thing. So thank you, Nancy. You're very welcome to all of you. Just want to give you an update since we made a post about it of how he's doing. So anyways, have a wonderful rest of the night, my lovelies. And thank you to everyone out there who might watch the show during the replay. I appreciate all of you. If you do leave a comment for the replay, I do look at them. I go and, I respond to any comment that's made always and acknowledge you. So be aware of that. And thank you for watching the replay even. So love and light to everybody. Have a wonderful time until Wednesday, and we will see you guys then. Good night, guys.